Hello and welcome back. In this video, we're talking about string functions, or the functions that work on text, strings of characters linked together. In computer science, they call it a string variable. Within just the last few years, there have been some great new text functions that have been created by Excel. Before that, and just to show you, just to help you get some appreciation for these, there was text to columns was the only option that we had. So for text to columns, first you're going to want to highlight the text and do a Control-C copy and paste it, because text to columns will destroy your original data, and it was hard to put it back together. So text to columns, you would select your text, and then go up to your Data tab, and it's this one. So the text to columns function allows you to split the text up using a delimiter or a fixed width. So you could say go 5 characters and then split it and go 7 more characters, like that. We're going to do delimited, and it down in this window it shows you a preview of what will happen. So delimiter is on a tab. We don't have any tabs. If we do a comma delimited, notice that we get the names and then the numbers here. There's a space in front of them, and that's because there's a space between the comma and the next field. But there isn't a way to put two delimiters together, because if I say, well, give me a comma and a space, now every time it hits a space, it's going to make a break. So between Jane and Smith, and the problem happens when you have some of these names like marketing director versus human resource manager. So now the word that had 3 words in the title, so there were 2 spaces, it creates this anomaly in your data. The other problem is that if you're going to split on the comma, it splits the thousands out from the salary. So the best option here would be to take away the comma. We have to deal with that extra space. So we will finish, and then there is a space in front of, let me widen this out. There's a space in front of marketing director right there that we need to deal with. There's a trim function, so I could create a new column, insert, and then say trim this text. And trim will take out all of the leading and trailing extra spaces, and if there were 2 spaces in between, it would take that out too. And then the other problem that we had was the 80 and the 0, which the 3 zeros together just came in. So that's the old school way to do it. You had a single delimiter that you could use, and if your data wasn't extremely consistent, this could cause problems, and it wasn't dynamics. So instead, let me just select all this other stuff, delete it, and we're going to try this again. For the second option, we're going to do the new text split function equals text split. Okay, you operate on a single cell. On this text, you can say what you want your column delimiter to be. And I want it to be, if I say space in double quotes and then hit return, it looks a lot like what we had before. So we had the leading space here, and there's a space leading in the 40. One important note about the text split function is that it brings back text, so your numbers get reformatted to be text. But one advantage is that you can have a combined delimiter. So I can have a comma and then I can put a space in there. And now when it separates out, I don't have the leading space in front of the 40 or the marketing director. And because my delimiter wasn't just a plain comma, it was a comma and a space, then it kept the 80,000 together. And once you have it the way you want it, you can copy it down, and all of that got updated. So now again, notice one thing to note about the text split function is that it returns text. So these cells that look like numbers have now been formatted as text. And sometimes that can cause a problem if you do a lookup and you're looking for a number, it won't recognize the text. For instance, let's go down to here and let's do a lookup. Do an X lookup, look for the value 40 in this column and return from the names column. and I can see the 40, but if I do the function, it doesn't find it because it was looking for a numeric 40 and I have a text 40. One other very important difference with the TextSplit function is that it is an array function. So all of this information comes in a single array, and you can't, if you try to delete or make alterations to a single cell, one quick workaround, not the best. So the XLOOKUP function is, it knows the difference between string and text. So if I put the 40 into double quotes, it now makes it text. So look up the text 40. Now it finds it and it can return Jane Smith. That is not the best solution because you want your numbers to be numbers. Let me take a minute and talk to you about numbers stored as text. When they come through, you may get this little notice up in the corner, and if you click on the cell, you'll get a warning box, and over here it says you have a number stored as text, and then you can convert it to a number, which is fine. So you could, but again, it's not dynamic. One other thing that will convert to a number is if you take a number stored as text and you include it in any kind of arithmetic calculation, Excel will change the formatting to number formatting. So if I did that times by 1, or another option is to do the opposite of the number, so times it by a -1 twice, any arithmetic operation, so you could add 0 to it. Anything that doesn't change the value but will trick Excel into changing it to a number. There's also a value function that will take text and convert it into a number. And any of those will work, but they only work on numbers stored as text. So if you have actual text and you try to do the text times a number, you're going to get a value error. Now, forgive me if this next part is overkill, but I want to try to clean up this TextSplit function. If I go back and I say split the function using the comma, but then times by a 1, the number is no longer stored as text, but now I have errors where the text was. So I'll do the TextSplit function, and I'm going to put an error, an if error function around that. So do this calculation, comma, and if there's an error, then forget the times by 1. Just do a regular text split on A3 with comma space. And that way, the numbers are formatted as numbers. The salary was kept all together. The text still acts like text, and I can do a lookup with a plain number and bring back the corresponding value. Okay, I'll see you in the next video.